Welcome to another episode of Bible Conversations, Bible stories told from a perspective you've never heard in church. This week's conversation tells the story of domestic discord that jumped off when Abraham and his wife Sarah decided to open their marriage. Buckle up and hold on tight. We're about to turn up.
Social media gets a lot of blame for the ratchet behavior that is seen as a recent breakdown in morality. But that viewpoint ignores all we know about the way humans have conducted themselves since the origin of the species. Long before Maury, Oprah, Phil Donahue, Ricky Lake, and Sally Jessy Raphael treated the public to daily doses of degenerate behavior on daytime TV in the 1980s and 90s, there were people whose love lives would have been ratings gold. You can read about some of them in the Bible gathering dust on your coffee table or on the mantle over the fireplace. One of the earliest love triangles gone wrong is the story of Abraham, his wife Sarah, and Sarah's handmaiden Hagar. Abraham and Sarah were getting along just fine until they decided to help God bring one of his promises to pass instead of staying in their lane. See, God had told Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. Naturally, Abe questioned how that was going to happen because he and Sarah were childless, and she was already in her late 70s. Sarah came up with what seemed like a bright idea at the time. She told Abraham that he should take her young Egyptian handmaiden Hagar as his wife and make it do what it do. Say less, said Abraham. And before long, Hagar was pregnant with Abraham's baby. Sounds simple enough. But here's where things start to go left. Sarah proposed this arrangement thinking that the fetus in her servant Hagar's womb would be considered as her gift to her husband. But the law of unintended consequences was already on the books. Hagar, having slept with Abraham and having been impregnated by him, was no longer willing to stay in a slave's place. She began to show disdain for Sarah and heap scorn on her for her inability to conceive a male heir for Abraham on her own. Hagar threw shade at Sarah every chance she got. Sarah retaliated by beating Hagar and making her workload overwhelming. But that didn't stop the supersized smack talk from Hagar that left Sarah wrestling with sample-sized self-esteem. Instead of taking into consideration her role in kicking off the drama, Sarah immediately went to Abraham and put the blame squarely on his shoulders. She screamed on him, talking about, "Ever since you impregnated my slave girl, she is walking around acting as though she's superior to me. This is all your fault." Abraham reminded her that it was her idea. I'll give you 2 guesses about how that played out. Sarah lashed out and low-key threw God under the bus right along with her husband. Homegirl said, "There is no end to the problems this getting you an heir project has caused. I put hands on Hagar to put her in check and instill some discipline, and now she's run off. There's no telling where she is." Hagar ended up in the desert, about to die because she had a lot of passion but no plan. Lucky for her, God stepped to her and gave her a sneak preview of the future. He told her to go back and submit herself to Sarah, and he would make the child in her womb the father of descendants too numerous to count. Hagar played along and returned to Abraham's household. But relationships, like a ceramic bowl, never go back the way they were once they are broken. Resentment and distrust lingered like the smell of cigar smoke in couch cushions. Even after Sarah finally gave birth at age 90, the beef between the 2 women remained spicy. Abraham, realizing the only way to quell the upheaval in his household was to separate them, took matters into his own hands. He told Hagar that she and their son Ishmael had to bounce. Hagar felt some type of way about getting kicked to the curb, but Abraham let her know that it was a far better option for her than what Sarah had in mind. Hagar took off again. But her navigational skills hadn't improved since she left the first time as a fugitive. She and Ishmael ended up in the desert and found themselves out of food and water. God, determined to keep his earlier promise about Ishmael's destiny, stepped in and rescued Hagar and the boy. Of course, there's a supernatural element to this tale. But the plot points are super similar to stories that keep us tuning in to our favorite social media platforms 4,000 years later.
That's it for today, folks. But tune in again soon for another one of our Bible Conversations Bible stories. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe.